He left me for my best friend because I was too big. Then his wedding fell apart. The phone rang at 10:17 on a Saturday morning. I almost ignored it. I was sitting on my couch in an old sweatshirt, eating cereal straight from the bowl and watching a ridiculous reality show I didn't even like. My plan was simple: stay home, keep my phone on silent, and let the wedding of the man who had broken my heart happen without me. Then I saw the caller's name. Evelyn Mercer, my ex-fiance's mother. I hadn't spoken to her in nearly 7 months. I answered. Claire. Her voice was unusually quiet. Yes, come to the Briarwood estate. I laughed nervously. I'm sorry. Come here now. There was something in her voice that made the smile disappear from my face. Why? She hesitated. Then she said, because you need to see what happened. I was standing before I even realized it. 7 months earlier, Daniel had told me he no longer wanted to marry me. We had been together for 4 years. I thought I knew him. Apparently, I didn't. He said we'd grown apart. Then, after several painful conversations, he finally admitted the real reason. He had fallen for my best friend, Vanessa, and according to him, Vanessa was more his type. He didn't have to explain what he meant. Vanessa was petite, polished, and effortlessly fashionable. I had spent years struggling with my weight. Daniel knew how insecure I was about it. Yet, somehow, during our final conversation, he made my body sound like a business decision. I just don't feel the same attraction anymore, he said. I remember staring at him. Then he added the sentence that stayed with me. You've changed. I wanted to ask him when. When had I become someone he could stop loving because my body wasn't the same? But I didn't ask. I simply packed my belongings and left. 3 months later, Daniel proposed to Vanessa. I found out through a photograph someone sent me. She was holding her hand toward the camera. The ring was enormous. The caption said, "Forever starts now." I deleted the picture. Then I deleted almost everyone connected to them. And I started rebuilding myself. Not for Daniel. For me. The first few weeks were terrible. I barely slept. I stopped answering messages. I avoided mirrors. Then one morning, I looked at myself and realized something. I had spent years allowing other people's opinions to determine how much space I deserved. I was finished. I joined a small fitness studio near my apartment. The first session lasted 11 minutes before I had to stop. I went home embarrassed. The next morning, I returned. Then I returned again. I also started therapy. My therapist, Rachel, asked me a question that changed everything. When you were with Daniel, how often did you choose peace over yourself? I couldn't answer, because the honest answer was, almost every day. So I started changing. Slowly, I became stronger. I slept better. I stopped apologizing for taking up space. 6 months passed. I wasn't suddenly a different person. I was simply becoming the woman I had been before I learned to doubt myself. And then came Daniel's wedding day. At 10:17 that morning, Evelyn had called. 20 minutes later, I was driving toward Briarwood Estate. When I arrived, something was obviously wrong. Guests stood outside in expensive clothes, whispering. A bridesmaid was crying beside a fountain. 2 men were arguing near the entrance. Inside, a flower arrangement had been knocked over. The wedding coordinator looked like she hadn't slept in 3 days. Then Evelyn found me. She grabbed my hands. Vanessa is gone. I stared at her. What? She left. Where? We don't know. Evelyn's face tightened. Daniel found messages. What kind of messages? She looked away. Vanessa has been seeing another man. I felt strangely calm. How long? Months. Then she pulled out her phone. There were messages between Vanessa and a man named Marcus. Vanessa had apparently been telling him that Daniel was boring, that she wanted the wedding because of the lifestyle, that she didn't know how long she'd stay married once she got what she wanted. I looked at Evelyn. So the wedding is cancelled. She nodded. Then she said something I never expected. Daniel needs you. I stared at her. I'm sorry. He is devastated. I shook my head. Evelyn, I'm not going to be his replacement bride. I wasn't asking you to. You called me here on his wedding day. She became quiet. Then she said, I thought perhaps you two might. No. The answer came instantly. Not because I hated Daniel. Not because I wanted revenge. Because I finally understood something. Being someone's second choice is not a victory. I looked around the ballroom. Hundreds of dollars had been spent on flowers. People had traveled across the country. Everything had been prepared for a marriage that was never supposed to happen. And suddenly, I felt sorry for Daniel, but not sorry enough to save him from the consequences of his choices. I hope he's okay, I told Evelyn. I really do. Then I walked away. I drove home shaking. Halfway there, I pulled into a parking lot and sat with both hands gripping the steering wheel. I wasn't celebrating. I wasn't laughing. I wasn't thinking, he deserves this. I was thinking about how strange life could be. 7 months ago, Daniel had looked at me and decided I wasn't good enough. Now his wedding had collapsed, and somehow I was standing there perfectly fine. When I got home, I made tea. I changed into comfortable clothes, and for the first time in months, I felt peaceful. Then, at 8:36 that evening, someone knocked on my door. 3 times. Slowly. I already knew who it was. I opened the door. Daniel stood there. His tie was gone. His shirt was wrinkled. His eyes were red. He looked exhausted. Claire, I said nothing. He stared at me. For several seconds, he couldn't speak. Then he finally said, I made a mistake. I leaned against the doorway. Yes. His face tightened. I don't expect you to forgive me. Good. He swallowed. I've been thinking about you. I almost smiled. You should have done that before you left me. I know. He looked at me differently. Not like the woman he'd rejected. Not like the person he decided wasn't attractive enough. He looked confused, as though the woman standing in front of him didn't fit the version he'd created in his head. You look. He stopped. I waited. Different, he finished. I am. I mean, you seem happy. I am. He looked down. Claire, I was wrong about you. I nodded. You were. I thought I knew what I wanted. You didn't. I thought Vanessa was. He stopped. I didn't need to hear the rest. Daniel looked at me for a long moment. Then he whispered, Can we start over? That question would have destroyed the old me. The woman who had spent years wondering whether she was enough would have opened the door. She would have listened. She would have forgiven. She would have tried again. But I wasn't that woman anymore. No. His eyes filled with disappointment. Why? I took a breath. Because you didn't lose me today. He looked at me. You lost me the day you decided I wasn't worth choosing. He said nothing. I continued. And the woman standing here now doesn't need to be chosen by someone who once rejected her. Daniel's eyes dropped. For once, he had no argument. No explanation. No clever words. Nothing. Goodbye, Daniel. I closed the door. And this time, I didn't cry. A few months later, I ran my first charity race. It wasn't impressive. I finished somewhere in the middle. But when I crossed the line, I smiled. Not because Daniel had lost his wedding. Not because Vanessa had left him. Not because he had come back to my door. I smiled because 6 months earlier, I had believed someone else's opinion of me was the final verdict. It wasn't. People can underestimate you. They can leave you. They can compare you to someone else. They can tell you that you're not enough. But none of those things decide who you become next. Daniel once told me I wasn't his type. Maybe he was right. I wasn't his type. I was becoming something better. I was finally becoming my own. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe to my channel and turn on the notification bell. More emotional, dramatic and unforgettable stories are coming. Thank you for supporting my channel.